Welcome everyone, join us today as we explore the life and music career of Graham Nash, from the Hollies and the British invasion, to Crosby, Stills and Nash, and an enduring solo legacy still loved by generations. So let's dive in. Graham William Nash, born the 2nd of February 1942, in Blackpool, Lancashire, England. Born during the Second World War, his mother had been evacuated there from Salford, and once the war ended, the family returned there, where Graham spent his formative years growing up in post-war Britain. He was raised in a working-class household during a period defined by rationing, rebuilding, and social change. Music, radio, and shared entertainment played an important role in daily life, and Graham later spoke of how those early conditions shaped his sense of gratitude and perspective. From childhood, he showed an instinctive pull toward both sound and image. Long before photography became a formal pursuit, he was fascinated by cameras and photographs, objects that would later carry emotional and symbolic weight throughout his life. When he was 14, Graham's father served a year in prison after receiving a stolen camera, a camera he had bought as a present for Graham, and refusing to reveal who had sold it to him. The incident stayed with Graham, and it's one of the details most often repeated in biographical accounts because it tied together hardship, loyalty, and the emotional symbolism of photography. One of the defining relationships of Graham's life began at just 6 years old, when he met Alan Clark at school. The two boys became close friends, bonded by shared interests and, eventually, a mutual passion for singing. As skiffle and early rock and roll spread across Britain in the 1950s, Graham and Clark joined countless young people inspired to make music themselves. Singing together became a constant, and harmony, rather than instrumental flash, emerged as their strongest shared skill. Like many aspiring musicians of the time, Graham balanced regular work with music ambitions, performing wherever possible, and refining his voice and musical instincts in clubs around Manchester. These years laid the groundwork for what would soon become a professional pursuit. In the early 1960s, Graham co-founded the Hollies with Alan Clark. The band quickly distinguished itself through tight vocal harmonies, and an ability to deliver polished pop records that stood out during the British beat boom. Early releases established them as reliable hitmakers. Albums such as Stay with the Hollies, and In the Hollies Style, both in 1964, captured the group's rapid ascent. Graham sang his first lead vocal on the original song, To You My Love, and became increasingly involved in shaping the band's creative direction. A critical turning point came when Graham pushed the group toward writing more of their own material. Alongside Clark and guitarist Tony Hicks, he formed part of the Clark-Hicks-Nash songwriting unit, initially credited under the alias L. Ransford. By 1966–67, the Hollies were enjoying major international success with songs such as Stop Stop Stop, with Graham singing lead vocals on several of these. Notably, on A Carousel, and Carrie Ann, both in 1967. However, as the musical climate shifted toward album-driven experimentation, Graham grew increasingly dissatisfied with the band's reluctance to move beyond polished pop. The tension reached a peak with King Midas in Reverse in 1967, a song Graham believed strongly in, but which producer Ron Richards felt was too complex to succeed as a single. The Butterfly album later that year reflected Graham's expanding ambitions, but by 1968 it was clear that his creative direction no longer aligned with the Hollies' priorities. Graham first encountered David Crosby and Stephen Stills during a Hollies US tour in 1966. Over time, those connections deepened, particularly as Graham spent more time in California during 1967 and 1968. A significant personal and creative relationship began in 1968 when Graham became involved with Joni Mitchell. He moved into her Laurel Canyon home that summer, placing him at the heart of a rapidly forming creative community. It was in this setting that the foundations of Crosby, Stills and Nash were laid. Accounts consistently describe an evening at Mitchell's house where Graham, Crosby and Stills sang together, and immediately recognized the power of their three-part harmony. Later that year, Nash made a life-altering decision. He left the Hollies and committed fully to forming a new group in America. Crosby, Stills and Nash was released on the 29th of May 1969. The album became a defining work of the era, built around acoustic textures, individual songwriting voices, and intricate harmony. Graham contributed some of the album's most enduring material, including Marrakesh Express, which became a major hit. The record reached the US top 10 and quickly established Crosby, Stills and Nash, or often called CSN, as one of the leading acts of the late 1960s. Importantly, several of Graham's songs had been rejected by the Hollies, reinforcing how decisive his move to America had been. Neil Young joined shortly after CSN's formation, transforming the group into Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. Their first studio album, Deja Vu, was released in March 1970 and became a cultural landmark. The album topped the Billboard charts and included Graham's Teach Your Children and Our House, both of which became defining songs of the era. Our House was written during Graham's time living with Joni Mitchell and captured a rare moment of domestic calm amid an otherwise turbulent period. Despite commercial success, internal tensions were constant, and the group soon fractured. In May 1971, Graham released his first solo album, Songs for Beginners, followed by Wild Tales in 1974. Both albums reflected his political awareness, personal experiences, and melodic instincts. At the same time, Graham remained closely connected to Crosby, leading to the formation of a long-lasting duo. The duo debuted with Graham Nash David Crosby in 1972, featuring the hit, Immigration Man. They followed with Wind on the Water, in 1975, and Whistling Down the Wire, in 1976. These albums established Crosby and Nash as a distinct creative entity alongside the larger CSN framework. In 1977, CSN reunited with the album CSN, which reached number 2 in the US. Graham's Just a Song Before I Go became the group's biggest charting single. Next, Graham would release Earth and Sky in 1980 and Innocent Eyes in 1986, while CSN continued recording and touring, including Daylight Again in 1982 and After the Storm in 1994. Crosby, Stills and Nash were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1997. The Hollies followed in 2010, making Graham a two-time inductee. In the early 1970s, Graham began collecting photographs seriously, amassing over 1,000 prints. His collection toured museums internationally from 1978 to 1984. In 1990, he sold the collection through Sotheby's, setting records and donating proceeds to museum acquisition funds. In the late 1980s, Graham began experimenting with digitizing photographs using early Macintosh systems. Dissatisfied with existing printing options, he explored iris inkjet technology. In 1991, he founded Nash Editions with Mac Holbert, widely recognized as the world's first professional fine art digital printing studio. In 2005, Graham donated the original iris printer to the Smithsonian. In 2002, Graham released Songs for Survivors, This Path Tonight in 2016, and Now in 2023. He also released live retrospective recordings in the 2020s, as well as archival CSNY releases, including Live at Fillmore East, 1969 in 2024. On a personal note, Graham married his first wife Rose Eccles, in 1964, a union that would end in divorce in 1968. Her surname later became part of an inside joke that inspired the Hollies' 1968 song title, Jennifer Eccles. His next relationship with Joni Mitchell between roughly 1968 and 1970 was intense but ultimately short-lived. Despite a deep love between the two, differing expectations about relationships, combined with the pressures of fame and substance use within their wider circle, caused the relationship to unravel nearly as quickly as it began. Joni later expressed that Graham wanted a more traditional domestic arrangement, a role she could not accept as a fiercely independent woman and artist, leading to frequent conflict and eventual separation. Graham later married actress Susan Sennett in 1978. The marriage lasted until their divorce in 2016, and together they had 3 children, Jackson, Will, and Niall. Susan Sennett later died of cancer in September 2020. After relocating to New York City, Graham married artist Amy Grantham in April 2019. As of the early to mid-2020s, Graham remains active both musically and artistically. He continued to tour internationally with his long-running 60 Years of Songs and Stories shows, a format directly tied to his 6-decade recording and performance legacy, including headline dates across Australia and New Zealand in 2024. Upcoming US tour and performance schedules, and venue listings, extending into 2026, are found on his official website. And there you have it. From a post-war childhood in Salford, to co-founding the Hollies, from shaping the sound of Crosby, Stills and Nash and CSNY, to pioneering digital fine art printing, Graham Nash has built one of the most multifaceted legacies, one grounded in enduring songs, lasting influence, and a body of work that continues to be deeply cherished by fans around the world, decade after decade. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos just like this. Take care and bye for now.